Well, hello there, my dear children of the apocalypse. How are we doing today? Welcome back to our 52 weeks of self-improvement, and welcome to the last week where we're doing this the regular way. Because next week, the 52nd week, I've prepared something just a little bit special for you. Also, very Merry Christmas to everybody if you're watching this today or tomorrow. And unfortunately, this isn't the video that you thought it's going to be. Funny enough, I had a lot of videos prepared for specifically today, a lot of still unreleased, unedited, or just unactualized ideas that I had on what I wanted to talk about. Among others was the goal to reach 100 kilograms, which was supposed to be another bulking video. Then there was the hero's journey, which I thought about creating this arc, which you'll see in Harry Potter, you'll see it in Star Wars, you'll see it in every action hero movie ever, where you have a character that fails and then a mentor appears and he has to go through hardships. And I wanted to tie all of that into our journey here and what's happened. I looked back and reflected on some of the videos that I uploaded, where some of them were a little bit missed. Some of them were just filler videos, like a couple of War the bits that I'd done. It was just to get content for that week done, because I just didn't have the time, or I didn't have the ideas, or maybe I was feeling a little bit in a slump. And then as things have progressed over the last, I want to say, month or so, and as we've talked about losing my cat, we spoke about love, and we spoke about religion, and we spoke about my trip to Dubai last week, something clicked in me, and I decided that I wanted to talk to you about jail. Not actual jail, but the mental prison. This might be a bit of a weird correlation to Christmas, and people might think, oh, what does jail have to do with Santa Claus? Well, there's so many kids this year that aren't going to get to celebrate Christmas. There's a lot of kids this year that lost their lives because either they just got fed up with life, or because of the environment in which they live didn't allow them to continue living. Whether it's poverty or war or famine, there's atrocities that are going on all across the world. And it wasn't until my trip to Dubai, which is ironic, I think, one of the richest cities in the world, where I got to see the most poor people of my life. And it got me reflecting back to last year. Last year, I felt in the slump. In fact, on this very day, 1 year ago, I uploaded a video, how to beat depression in 21 days, something like that. Part of me wants to go back to a year-old me and just smack the living crap out of him, because of how privileged my problem really was. I know that this will get me a lot of hatred. I also know that there are people out there, perhaps among you, who rightfully so have depression, who rightfully so have anxiety or suffer from anxiety or panic attacks, that actually have ADHD and OCD and all these other, I call them modern privileged diseases, because there's something among us, I'm sorry, but white folk, that comes up with issues where issues really don't exist. Ever since I've been to Dubai, I'm still stuck in this mental image of sitting in the back of that taxi and driving down one of the biggest boulevards in the city and just observing the skyscrapers and taking in all of this supposed richness, but then witnessing the warmth that's coming from the taxi driver himself, and acknowledging that his family is back home in Pakistan, living on the edge of poverty, where his kids they're not going to have the same Christmas, if they're going to have a Christmas at all. They're not receiving the same gifts you're getting. They're not worried about getting the wrong colored iPhone. They don't have the privilege of really ever being depressed. And I feel so humbled by it, but I also feel so angry. Angry at myself for not acknowledging the wider picture, for being so tied up in my own ego, my own mind, my narcissistic self, to ignore the rest of the world and feel that my issues are the issues that are greater than everybody else. When I uploaded the video of I haven't been to a hairdresser in 5 years, it was maybe a bit of a weird one, but there's something there that I realized has potential to be spoken about, and is this haircut. It's not because it saves me water, saves me hair drying, or because it's just a brain dead way to cut your own hair if you really don't know how to do it. It's because I wanted to create a prison for myself. See, a couple of days ago, I was trying to solve some personal questions. I was having a conversation with myself. And I looked back at who I was a year ago and how I was, depressed and feeling sad and lonely. And I was creating this barrier process, trying to make sure that I never ever again go into that state. Right? I like to revisit the past in order to ensure that we don't go there, that we don't repeat those mistakes. But in the process of doing so, I came across a question. And the question was, what would happen if you took me at my lowest point and you put me into the back of that cab? If it was that you put me into jail, what would happen to a person who believes he has issues? You put him into an, objectively speaking, very, very bad situation. You put him into jail. You actually take away a lot of his freedoms. You take away a lot of the comfort. You take away essentially everything. And then after a month, you release him back into the world. And my question was, what would happen to that person? Now, I have my answers because I've partially done that last year, unknowingly. But also, I'm willing to do it again. And that's half the reason why I've gone for the haircut, and half the reason why I'm in a mental state of sitting in the back of a cab. This year, I'm not thinking about Christmas. I'm not thinking about the world. I am still rather egotistically thinking about myself, but trying to reflect it to a bigger picture. Almost like if you were painting an image on a canvas and you were running out of space. And so you just stretch the canvas out. And what is unveiled is a painful reality that the world is not so small after all. You have to sort of spread it out a little bit. You see, I think there's some truth to it. There's some reality to the idea of forcing yourself into a prison of your own, to temporarily take away some of the things that you find are necessary and just see what happens. So if I look back at 2023, I look back at the things we've learned. What happens if I take away sugar? What happens if I take away social media? What happens if I take away pornography? What happens if I take away love? What happens if I take away the freedoms, the privileges, and the comfort that I have? If I was to create a list of things and restrict myself from them, create a literal prison for living for 1 month, after I've emerged from that situation, would I not be a better person? Shouldn't that have cured and suddenly given me all the passion back for life, but also taught me about the things that I was doing wrong, the things that really are addictions, and things that I do believe are privileges? Because I think what's happened is that we've become out of touch with reality. Again, I'm not speaking for the wide world. I'm speaking for me. I know I'm very out of touch with reality. On a daily basis, I trouble myself with problems that the majority of the world would kill for. There are people out there, like I said, who are not going to celebrate Christmas. There are people out there today who are going to celebrate Christmas alone. There are people out there who are going to celebrate Christmas on a multi-million-dollar yacht with endless champagne. And yet they could still be lonely. There are varying degrees of everything we feel. And one of the things a taxi driver said that so resounded with me, he said, see that guy, he's got a better car than me. But I've got a car. Right? And there's somebody out there who hasn't got a car. And he's saying this, and my mind is just, there was a part of me, a very, very small part of me, and I felt it. It felt evil. But a small part of my brain thought, who cares? A small part of my brain thought, just work harder. A small part of my brain just went, your problem. I don't know what it was, but I felt the evil. I felt the devil himself trying to again infringe this idea that you deserve to have it better. And I think that's killing all of us. And so that is my Christmas present. I'm going to jail. I'm going to lock myself up from some of the addictions, from some of the privileges which I believe are festering the average first world white person. And hopefully things will change. And if they don't, then what we've had is an experiment, and 1 month out of the rest of the eternity of life shouldn't really make that big of a deal. I do digress for all the pessimism or perhaps the negativity that I've bestowed upon you, but I know it's Christmas. I know that most of you are with your families, that most of you are in a celebrative mood. It's holiday spirit after all, but this is the first year that I've actually stopped and thought about all the other people, all the other families, or the lack thereof. And this Christmas, I want you to spend a couple of seconds, or minutes, or days thinking about them as well. Because chances are that you are one of the privileged ones. Until next week and the grand finale, take care, safe flying, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas.